Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Living Inspired with Autism. My name is Antoinette, and I am a parent-focused life coach for those of you who are raising autistic children. Now, this is the space for parents who are raising their extraordinary children while also learning how to regulate themselves, strengthen their emotional well-being, and create lives that feel deeply meaningful and aligned. Okay, so today's episode is such a beautiful and a deep dive follow-on from the Emotional Skills series. So if you haven't listened to the Emotional Skills podcast series, please do so, because once we understand emotions, once we understand how to allow them and how to not indulge them and how to stop running from the discomfort and how to create emotions on purpose, the next layer becomes how much emotion can you actually hold? That is what we are talking about today, emotional capacity. And I want to say this right from the beginning. This isn't about being positive all the time. This is about becoming the kind of parent who can feel what there is, stay with it and themselves, and still choose their next move from strength. And as parents of autistic children, I think this is one of the most powerful skills that we can build, because there are so many moments on this journey where we feel emotionally maxed out. We have all the things going on. Everything is constantly happening in our autism world. And then we also still have our life, our body, our marriage, our work, our dreams, our friendships, our finances, our future. And so many parents I speak to, they feel like they're already at full capacity. They feel like just one more thing will just tip over the whole apple cart. And I get it, because I'm in there as well. But today, I'd want to offer you a question. What if you are wrong about how much you can hold? Now, I'm not trying to be harsh in a pull yourself together way, but in a loving, deeply empowering way. What if you have more emotional capacity than you currently believe? What if the reason that you feel so exhausted is not only because your life is full, but it's also because you're spending so much energy resisting the emotions that are already there? That's where we're going today. Let's start with what emotional capacity actually means. Capacity simply means the amount something can hold. So you've seen a lot of signs in the elevator or public spaces that says maximum capacity 300 people, or on the elevator 15 people max. It means that the room or the elevator can safely hold that number before it becomes too full. Now, emotionally, we have a capacity too. We have a point where we feel stress, sadness, anger, disappointment, hope, excitement, fear, uncertainty. And then at some point, if we haven't learned how to regulate and allow those emotions, our system starts to feel unsafe. And this is usually when we react. We snap, we shut down, we avoid, we over-explain, we cancel the thing. We say yes when we mean no. We say no to a thing that we actually want. We don't dream, we stop believing, we stop moving. So emotional capacity is your ability to hold emotion without making it an emergency. It's your ability to feel something that's really uncomfortable without needing to escape it. It's your ability to be in a really hard moment without deciding that your whole life is hard. It's your ability to be disappointed and not collapse. It's your ability to be afraid, to feel the fear without giving that fear the steering wheel. It's also your ability to feel good. And that is important. Emotional capacity is not only about holding hard emotions. It's about holding positive hope, pride, success, desire, the possibility without shutting them down. Because too many of us do this. We have a good moment or even a good moment with our kiddo, and then our brain goes, yes, but tomorrow might be hard again. Or we have a win. Say now, we got a new client or we got a bonus and we go, yes, but it's not enough. Or we feel hopeful about something and our brain goes, careful, no, you don't want to hope too much because you're going to be disappointed. So emotional capacity is the ability to hold the full human experience, the hard and the beautiful, the grief and the gratitude, the fear and the faith, and not to ignore yourself in the middle of it. This is the work. Now, why does this matter for us? Because this autism journey can activate emotions at a very, very, very deep level. And often it's not the actual circumstance that overwhelms it. It is the meaning that we attach to the circumstance. So, for example, let's say your kiddo had a difficult morning. Maybe they're dysregulated, nothing seems to be working. You're trying to get them dressed and fed and ready and into the car. And the whole morning feels like you're walking through treacle. That is already it's a really hard moment. But then your brain adds, I can't do this today. This always happens. I'm so tired. No one understands how hard this is. I should be doing this better. Is this going to be like this every day? Now you're not only dealing with a morning, you're dealing with a morning plus an entire imagined future. That is when we become emotionally flooded. And when the emotion rises, your brain starts getting very narrow. It starts filtering reality through that emotion. When you're overwhelmed, your brain is going to find evidence that everything is overwhelming. When you're afraid, your brain's going to find evidence that you're not safe. When you're feeling discouraged, your brain's going to find evidence that nothing is working. That is why one of the most powerful thoughts that you can practice is that this emotion is only part of the story. And I love that thought. Because when you're in the emotion, it feels like it is the whole truth. But it's not. It's just a lens. A convincing one, yes, but it's still only a lens. And when you are in fear, you can't see all the courageous things that you've already done. When you're in overwhelm, you can't see all the things that you've already handled. When you are in disappointment, you can't see the next possibility. So emotional capacity teaches us, this is here, and I'm safe to feel it. This emotion is not an emergency. I don't have to fix my whole life right now. It's that simple. But don't fool yourself. It's not small. I also want to talk about resistance, because resistance is a big part of this work. When we start talking about having more capacity, many of us feel that resistance immediately. Your brain may say things like, I really am at my capacity, or you don't understand what my life's like, and I can't hold more. I'm just exhausted. And I don't want more capacity because That sounds like people will just expect more from me. But stay with me here. Building emotional capacity does not mean that you keep tolerating things that are harmful to you. It doesn't mean that you can't ask for help, or that you never rest, or that you become the family pack mule. No, 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 no. Emotional capacity is not about taking on more and more and more. It's about becoming emotionally powerful enough to make clean decisions. And sometimes the most emotionally powerful thing that you can do is say no. And sometimes it's, I need help right now, or this is not working for me, or I'm going to close the door and take a rest now, or I'm no longer available for this. But when we don't have the capacity, those decisions often come from resentment or panic or anger, and we build capacity. When we build capacity, our decisions come from self-leadership. There is a difference. That's the difference. So when resistance comes up, don't make it a problem. Just get curious and ask yourself, why am I resisting this idea that I could have more capacity? What story would I have to let go of if I believed I could hold this? What do I get from believing the thought that I'm at my limit? Because sometimes the story that we cannot hold more protects us from trying again. It protects us from hope. It protects us from disappointment and want something more. Wanting something for your kiddo can feel so vulnerable. Wanting something for yourself after years of putting yourself last can feel, scandalous. But your desire is not the problem. Your emotions aren't the problem. Your lack of capacity is not even the problem. It's just the next place that you need to grow. So this brings me to a tool that I love. It's called intentional thought creation. So I got this from my coach. She's amazing. And I am having so much fun with intentional thought creation. What happens often is our brains are very skilled at going in one direction. And that direction is why something won't work, why it's too hard, why we can't do it, why it's unrealistic, why we should never get our hopes up, why we don't have the energy, why it's not the right time. That road in the brain, it's a neural pathway, is very well traveled. It's got street lights and traffic signs and snack shops and probably even a little souvenir stand. We know that road very well. Intentional thought creation is when we just invite our brain to maybe explore another road. Not forcing a belief that we don't believe, but by asking better questions. I'm all about asking better questions. Why could this work? What might be possible here? What evidence do I really have that I can handle hard things? What if I have more support available than I think? What if I am stronger than I feel in this moment? What if this emotion isn't dangerous? This is very different from slapping positive thought on top of a painful emotion. We're simply asking the brain to look in a direction it doesn't normally look in. Because many of us have been trained through experience to expect the hard thing. We've heard the no's, we've seen the doors close, we've heard the professionals lower our expectations. We've had moments where hope was followed by disappointment. So the brain starts thinking it's protecting us by preparing us for the worst. But emotional capacity allows us to hold the possibility of disappointment without living in disappointment ahead of time. So you can say to yourself, yes, I may be disappointed, but I can handle it. I may not know what's going to happen now, but I can handle the uncertainty. This may take time, and I can handle the process. My kiddo may develop differently, but I can still believe in the possibility of more. I can be realistic and powerful at the same time. This is emotional maturity. This is self-leadership. This is where life begins to feel less like you being dragged behind it and more like you walking through it. Now, I just want to take a break here and invite you into the next step, because this conversation, this work of emotional capacity is exactly why I created the You Are the Asset Masterclass. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm so tired of living like I am, the least important person in my own life, then this masterclass is for you. Because so many parents become exceptional at caring for everyone else. You know all the things, and somewhere along the line, you've just stopped seeing yourself as the asset. You may have started treating yourself like, the support staff. And I want to change that. In this masterclass, I am going to teach you how to come back to yourself, how to care for your emotional and physical capacity, how to stop running on fumes, and how to begin making decisions from the belief that you matter too. It is different to anything you can imagine, I promise you. You are not just the person holding everything together. You are the foundation. And when you're stronger and steadier and calmer, your life changes. So come and join me for You Are the Asset Masterclass. I would love to have you there. Just take a minute and click the link. It will be below in the show notes. Let's talk about what to do when a hard emotion arrives. Most of us want to jump straight to feeling better. We think, how can I stop this emotion? How do I calm down? How do I fix it? But the first move is simpler. I am safe to feel this, because often emotion itself is not the only thing overwhelming us. It is the fear of the emotion. We've sadness and then we panic because we're feeling sad. We're angry and then we have shame about being angry. We are feeling overwhelmed and then we judge our overwhelm. We're feeling sadness or grief and then we think that we're never going to get out of the grief. It becomes a stack of emotional pancakes and it feels heavy. So we start by removing that second layer, by saying things like, this emotion is not an emergency. This emotion can move through me. I can allow it. I can breathe. And when I say allow the emotion, I don't mean indulge it. Allowing is different. Allowing says this emotion is here. I can make space for it without letting it run my life. Another way to measure emotional capacity is by looking at your recovery time. Sometimes we think growth means we never get triggered again. Nope, we're always going to get triggered. You are human. You're going to feel hurt and angry and embarrassed and rejected and scared and disappointed and overwhelmed often. But the question is, how quickly can you return to yourself? Maybe something used to take you out for a full day. You would be in a mood, you'd snap at your partner, you'd lose your patience with your kiddo, you would mentally check out. The whole day would be colored by that one emotion. Then you start practicing emotional capacity. And one day, maybe it takes only half a day, then 2 hours, then 20 minutes. then it's one breath in the car before you walk back into your house. That is growth. And the faster you recover, the more life you get back. You become more present. You spend less time in emotional pain. You have more energy for everything. And this is why emotional capacity is so deeply connected to treating yourself as an asset. Every minute you spend fighting emotion is energy that you don't have for your life. The next thing is the capacity for positive emotion, because this one is a bit sneaky, because many of us think that we would love to feel more joy and more hope and more excitement and more pride. But when these emotions actually arrive, we often shut them down. Your kiddo could have a good moment and your brain goes, yes, but it may be the last one. You receive a compliment and your brain goes, they are just being nice. You have a peaceful afternoon and your brain goes, don't relax too much, something's going to happen. This is also a capacity issue. If your body has become used to the stress, it can start to mistrust peace. If your identity has been built around coping, it can feel strange to receive. So we practice letting good feelings stay. When something lovely happens, just take a breath, let it land. You can know how life is 50-50. Still savor the 50 that is beautiful. This is one of the gifts our children teach us. Sometimes the moment is tiny. Maybe it's a smile or a hug or a look or a new word. Let yourself have it. So how do we build emotional capacity in real life? The next time a strong emotion comes up, do these 4 things. First, you name it. Not the whole novel. You just name it. This feeling is sadness. This feeling is anger. Naming creates a little bit of space between you and the emotion. So you are the observer of the emotion. Secondly, create safety for yourself. I am safe to feel this. This emotion isn't an emergency. Third, remind yourself that the emotion is only part of the story. What else could be true? Fourth, choose your next action from power. Just the next action. Maybe the next action is having a drink of water or taking your kiddo to a quiet room or sending the email or not sending the email. Capacity is built in these ordinary moments. All right, I want to leave you with this. You don't need to become a different person to have more emotional capacity. It's just learning to feel anything, hard or beautiful, without making it an emergency, and then choosing the most powerful version of yourself anyway. And I want you to know you can build this little by little. And if this episode spoke to you, if you can feel that your next level is not doing more or pushing harder, then please come and join me for You Are the Asset Masterclass, because you are the foundation of your life. You are the parent your child looks to. You are the asset who gets to be cared for, resourced, supported, and emotionally steady. And it's time that you start treating yourself that way. So thank you very much for listening to this quite long podcast today. And I will speak to you next week. Bye-bye.